निताय की जय। भगवान नरसिंह देव भगवान की, पंचतत्व की जय। षट गोस्वामी की जय। गुरु परंपरा की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य स्तोत्र श्री श्रीमती डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद एसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य स्तोत्र श्री श्रीमती डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर श्री प्रभुपाद की। इस श्री गौर किशोरदास बाबा जी महाराज की, श्री भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की, जगन्नाथ दास बाबा जी महाराज की, श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गिरिधार श्री गौर भक्तवृंद की, गंगा माई यमुना माई की, अयोध्यापुरी धाम की, वृंदावन मथुरापुरी धाम की, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की, मायापुर धाम की, all glories to Assembled devotees, all glories to Assembled devotees, all glories to Assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru Ankaranga Jagat Guru Sri Prabhupada की जय। मैत्र उवाच ओमज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरों वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौरङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मैत्र उवाच एवं संकल्पितं मातुः अकर्ण्यातगमं वचः। मनात्मानं निष्क्रमपितु पुरात्। मैत्र उवाच एवं सञ्कल्पितं मातुः अकर्ण्यातगमं वचः। शन्यामात्मनात्मानं निष्क्रमपितु पुरात्। मैत्र उवाच एवं सञ्कल्पितं मातुः अकर्ण्यातागमं वचः। शन्नियामयत्मान्तात्मानं निशाक्रमापि तु पुरात् मैत्रेय from Mataji's. Maitreya Uvacha. The great sage Maitreya said, Evam, thus, Sanjalpitam, spoken together, Matuhu, from the mother, Akarnya, hearing, Artha, Agamam, purposeful, Vachaha, words, Shanyamaya, controlling, Atmana, by the mind, Atmanam, own self, Nish, Nishakrama, got out, Pitu, of the father, Purat, from the house. Translation. The great sage Maitreya continued the instruction of Dhruv Maharaj's mother Suniti was actually meant for fulfilling his desired objective. Therefore, after deliberate consideration and with intelligence and fixed determination, he left his father's house. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Both the mother and the son were lamenting. Dhruv Maharaj, having been insulted by his stepmother and his father, not having taken any step on this issue, but mere lamentation is useless. One should find out the means of to mitigate one's lamentation. Thus, both mother and son decided to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, because that is the only solution to all the material problems. It is indicated in the connection that Guru Maharaj left his father's capital city to go to a secluded place to search out the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is the instruction of Prahlad Maharaj also that if one is seeking peace of mind, he should free himself from the contamination of family life and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by going to the forest. To the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, this forest is the forest of Vrinda or Vrindavan. If one takes shelter of Vrindavan under Vrindavaneshwari Srimati Radharani Puja, certainly all the problems of his life are solved very easily. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devi saraswati vyasam tato jayam udire नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भक्ति नैष्ठिकी. So we're reading from the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 8, and text 24, which describes that Dhruv Maharaj, after sobbing and after crying, has finally decided, after his mother's instruction, that whatever the situation is, you have to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and akama sarvakamo va mokshakamo dharati divrena bhakti yogena yajante purusham param. If you have desires, or if you have no desires, if you have the desire to get liberated, worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead and perfect your life. So in the previous verse, we see that this is actually the best on Suniti's part, where she's actually giving the right advice to Dhruv Maharaj, seeing she's actually igniting that fire. She's fanning that spark, where she's seeing that Dhruva has finally, he has that fire, that he wants something in life and he wants to get this, and she's just channelizing that energy in the right way by showing him the path, that if you have to worship Krishna. Tasmad ekena manasa Bhagwan satvatam shottavyasya kirtitavyasya dheyam pucham sunityada. Shukdev Goswami says that, okay, after all, Tasmad ekena manasa, now with one-minded devotion and determination, fixed devotion, Tasmad ekena manasa Bhagwan satvatam. So she didn't say that you worship Chandra, Varuna, Indra, Mitra. She said worship Krishna, Adokshuje, the one with the lotus eyes, and who's beyond the senses. So she talks about this, and this is also this topic is seen continuously in the entire narrative of Srimad Bhagavatam, where even Gajendra says, Namo Atma Pradipaya Sakshine Paramatmane Namo Kiram Viduraya Manushas Chetasamapi. So what happened was that during Gajendra's calamity, there were so many devas and devis who were in the sky, and they were thinking that after doing so many austerities, and even Narad Muni in further chapters, he'll tell Dhruva that there are so many sages and saints and devas and kinnaras, gandharvas, yakshas, munis. All of them are constantly worshipping the Supreme Lord, and not just one lifetime, for many lifetimes, and for many lifetimes. Even for your great grandfather Brahma, when he was meditating for many lifetimes, after that he just got a small glimpse of the spiritual world, just got a small glimpse of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it is very difficult to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You should go back to your home. And His Holiness Radha Govind Das Goswami Maharaj, I was listening to his katha, and he was saying that Narada Muni was saying, Utanapad is my shishya. Come, I'll get the feud sorted. I'll talk to him. From next time he'll take you on his lap every day. But Dhruva's determination was, no, I don't want his lap. I don't want to do anything with the kingdom. I want to go. I want to please the Supreme Lord. Tasmat ekena manasa Bhagwan satvatam pati. This is the mood of this verse, that you don't want anything else except Krishna, except Krishna's lotus feet. We see that even there's this pastime of the story of Vrikasur, where Vrikasur goes to Narad Muni and he asks Narad Muni that which god is easy to please. So Narad Muni says that, see, Vishnu is very difficult to please, yado bhakti radokshare, but once he's pleased, the reward is good. But someone who's easily pleased is Bholenath, Lord Shiva, so you can worship him. So Vrikasur goes to, and he talks to Narad Muni, tells him the way. So he says you can go to Kedarnath, you can go to the Himalayas, and you can worship Lord Shiva over there. So he goes to the northern region, and he's cutting his own skin and his own flesh and offering it to Lord Shiva, thinking that Lord Shiva will, will, and he's Lord Shiva being a Vaishnava, he's naturally compassionate, and so he'll be compassionate and he'll give me my desired boon. So he starts doing that. 5 6 days pass, no, nothing comes, no one comes. So he's about to chop his own head and offer it to Lord Shiva, and then suddenly Lord Shiva along with Mata Parvati appears and says that, I'm simply offered by some Ganga Jal, why are you offering your own self, like offering your own flesh? Anyway, what is your what do you want? We see that Lord Shiva, he does two types of kripa, Sarkapat kripa and Nishkapat kripa. So we'll see how Lord Shiva does Sarkapat kripa, which is um, giving mercy, which entangles oneself in the gross materialistic lifestyle more and more. So he says, so he looks at Lord Shiva and then he looks at Parvati and he thinks, wow, so beautiful. And he thinks, I wish Parvati was mine. But till the time this Shiva is alive, I won't be able to have Parvati. So he asks for the boon that whoever, on whoever, whosoever's head I keep my hand on, should die. And Lord Shiva said, Tathastu. Now Vrikasura said, oh, let me test the boon. And he's about to go and touch Lord Shiva's head. And Lord Shiva starts running. And Lord Shiva starts running and he's praying to the Supreme Lord that, oh Lord, help me, I'm in this predicament and I don't know what to do. And then the Supreme Lord assumes the form of a brahmachari, Batuk Brahmana, and he comes as a Brahmana and he asks Vrikasura what happened. And Vrikasura is running because he doesn't want to miss Lord Shiva, so he's trying to catch up with Lord Shiva. And he says, oh, all of this happened and this story happened, and I'm really attracted to Parvati, but till the time Shiva is alive, I won't be able to have her as my wife. So this Brahmana says, oh, you've been tricked and you've been fooled by that con man. Now after Daksha cursed him, he has lost his mind. That Samshan Nivasi, that Aghori, do you think he has the power to give any benedictions to you? And this is so sad that he's actually tricking saintly people like you. He's he's misusing your devotion, and he's misusing your pious qualities of performing spiritual activities. And he said that if you don't believe me, then why don't you touch your own head and see? Nothing will happen. And Vrikasura does that, and he dies. So this is the situation of the devotees of the Supreme Lord, of other Devi and Devtas. But on the other hand, we see that although, so there's no purification happening, that in this situation, that he's doing spiritual activities, he's doing tapasya, he's doing sadhana, and he has got his sadhya as well. He has received the darshans of Lord Shiva, but no purification was there. On the other hand, we see Dhruva, who's doing austerities here, and he's doing penance to please the Supreme Lord. And although he has some desires, kama sarva kamova, he has desires. He wants a kingdom greater than his great grandfather. But when he finds the Supreme Lord, this verse comes in CC 22.42. Sthane abhilashi tapasi sthitoham tvam praptavan deva munindra guhyam kanchan vichinvan api divyaratnam swamin kritatosmi varam nayache. That, oh Lord, I was looking for the broken pieces of glass, but I found diamond in your service. So in 5 months, this purification has happened, that all his desires were fulfilled, and now he wants the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He doesn't want anything. Sthane abhilashi tapasi sthitoham tvat praptavan deva munindra guhyam kancham vichinvan api divyaratnam swami kritatosmi varam nayache. And he says, Swami kritatosmi varam nayache, I don't desire anything else now. And this is the purification which has happened. That is why Shukdev Goswami also says in Srimad Bhagavatam, Savai pumsam paro dharmo yado bhakti adokshate ahituki apratihatatma yayatma suprasitate. And this what Shukdev Goswami is saying is very similar to Rupa Goswami's definition of bhakti. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnanakarma navratam anukulena krishnanushilanam bhakti uttama. That actually, if you see the nature of bhakti, it can only be done towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rest, wherever you go, this it's actually barter system, or it's more like business. And that is why we see in this market we see new gurus coming up every 3 4 months. Some guru, some Paramananda, some Babaji, some guru coming, Guruji coming. In India, this person currently is very famous, Guruji, and a lot of people are taking shelter. So my mother was also, she, her friends, getting, she was listening to this and she was getting attached. And I have debates with her, and um, the, I ask her what is the major selling point of this Guruji, of this, of any, let's not target someone, but of all these God, so-called Godmen, what are their major selling point? It is that they'll fulfill your desires. They'll give you better lifestyle, and they'll fulfill whatever your desires are. Like if you're not well, you go to them and they claim that they can heal you and they can load you with money and whatever material desires are. And this is what Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, that kamaistai rita jnana prapadyante Nyadevata tam tam niyamam astaya prakrite niyata swayam. Those whose intelligence have been stolen by material desires surrender onto demigods and follow their particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. This is not even worshipping demigods, even lower in nature. So the main selling point is to get our desires fulfilled. Whereas Dhruva, the nature of bhakti is anya bilashita shunya, that there is no other desire except serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shashtakam, last verse, whether you accept me with your embrace, or whether you reject me, you tatra tana na para, you'll always be my supreme Lord, my worshipable Lord, and except you, no one else. This is the nature of bhakti. Anya bilashita shunya jnana karma anavritam anukulena. It has to be favorable. Anushilanam bhakti uttama. It has to be unmotivated, uninterrupted, and it has to be, yeah. So that is the nature of bhakti, which is opposite to what people following these vratas or following these other spiritualists and godmen is, because it is just to get their desires fulfilled, not to see something beyond this material world. It is how you can have a better lifestyle in this material world. Someone came to Prabhupada once and said that, oh, we're a society, and we're a society which promotes and believes that this world is a wonderful place to live in, and we do activities and philanthropy to make this world a better place. So Prabhupada said that just by lighting up an incense stick in the bathroom doesn't become a puja house, doesn't become a temple. And this analogy is so specific that Krishna also says Dukalim Ashashvatam. This material world, no matter what happens, what you do, there will always be some predicament. We see in Dhruva's life, Suniti tells Dhruva that this is don't be angry and don't be envious towards Uttama or Suruchi, because this is our own. And Narad Muni also, he further explains when he's testing Dhruva Maharaj's devotion and determination. He's telling Dhruva that whatever you get, it is out of your own karmas. Whether even if you're born as a prince, but if you're not entitled to the throne, it is no one's problem. It is no one's. No one is the cause of it but you, but your previous karmas. And Dhruva tells him that yes, this is a very good instruction for the Brahmanas. I'm a Kshatriya. And Narad he's amazed by how a 4-year-old child is also so concerned about his man and apman, his respect. And he's amazed, and for a second his smile diminishes, and he's like, why Kshatriya? And the warrior class, even a 4-year-old is so much worried about his own um, respect, self-esteem, and then obviously he channelizes that energy and he instructs him of on how to take the shelter of the Supreme Lord. So point point being that a devotee should refrain from getting allured. It's like going for the broken glass and you got the diamond, Shri Radha Gopinath, and Kanchan Vichinvan Api Divya Ratnam. So we should avoid getting allured by these materialistic desires and people who claim that they can fulfill these materialistic desires, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is, and even in CC, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that I know what is best for my devotees. They are asking for poison, but I'm giving them my own Charnamrit and perfecting their lives. So we should understand that the whole the mood of this narrative is Tasmat Ekena Manasa Bhagwan Sadvatam Pati Shrotavyasya Kirti Tavyasya Devyam Pujastanitya. That with one fixed point, one should serve the Supreme Lord no matter what. Even if you have desires, go and ask Krishna, and whatever he thinks is the best, he'll do it. Even if someone's not in that level of Kaivalya Bhakti and is a Kama Mishra Bhaktas like the Devis and Devtas, they are still known as Devi Devtas because just because of the fact that they surrender to the Supreme Lord whenever there is any calamity or whenever they have any desires which they want to get want that it gets fulfilled. And Radha Govind Maharaj was also making this point that people now think that if you surrender to Vishnu, if you surrender to Krishna, dhanam cha manam cha tathendriyani chauragraganyam purusham navami, he takes everything and makes you a mendicant. But practically seeing, our business is also flourishing nicely. Even if you promote Kaivalya Bhakti, even if you promote Bhakti towards Lord Adokshaja, your business will still flourish. ISKCON as a movement is flourishing in the Western world, and it's one of the most successful organizations, at least I've ever heard of. All close to Srila Prabhupada, who preached the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of Rupa Goswami, of Anya Vilasata Shanya Jnana Karma Navatam Anukulana Krishna Anushilana Bhakti Bhaktina. Then in this Prabhupada further makes a point that to the Gaudiya Vaishnava, this forest is the forest of Vrinda or Vrindavan. If one takes shelter of Vrindavan under Vrindavaneshwari Srimati Radharani, certainly all the problems of his life are solved very easily. So to the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the forest is the forest of Vrinda. It is said that the place where Srimati Radharani and Lord Krishna do their pastimes is where even the gopis give seclusion to the divine couple, and that is where they are doing their eternal pastimes. It's under a Kalpa Vriksha tree, and that Kalpa Vriksha tree is Madhavendra Puri. And from Madhavendra Puri, from that tree that there are branches, and ultimately the verse says this is mentioned in CC that that from that branch comes Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then from him our lineage or our parampara is established, and that's Gaudiya Vaishnava parampara. And for us, Vrindavan is the ultimate Aradhana Nam Sarvesham Vishnu Aradhya Bhagwan Brajeshatanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachita Upasana Vrachatvadu Varkena Ya Kalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Prema Marto Mahan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matamidam Tatradana Na Paraha. So Radha Bhagwan Rajesh Tanayas, that if one God has to be worshipped, it has to be the Supreme Lord who is doing his pastimes in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Aradhya Bhagwan Rajesh Tanayas, the son of um, the king of Vrindavan, that Dham of Vrindavan, and that the abode which one is supposed to take shelter of is Vrindavan. And even His Holiness Radha Govindas Maharaj was making this point that this is the duty of the Guru, to instruct the disciple of where, how, and when the disciple should take shelter. So Narad Muni is asking through Maharaj to go to Madhuvan, which is one of the forests of Braj, and he's asking him of Vrindavan, and he's asking him to take shelter of the Dham and take shelter of the Supreme Lord in the Dham. So he's actually instructing Aradhya Bhagwan Rajesh Tanayas, the Dham of Vrindavan. And I was making this point earlier when I was last here, that how Indradimna Maharaj also makes this point, that one reason why Dhruv Maharaj was able to get the Supreme Lord in just a matter of months was that the potency of Dham was actually aiding Dhruv Maharaj's bhakti and Dhruv Maharaj's devotional activities. So wherever we are, even if we're physically not present, we should always be in that consciousness of being in the Dham. Even when we worship in deity worship, when we're actually inviting the Lord for Abhishek, we actually make a 8-petal lotus with sandalwood, and then we write the Bij mantras, and all the Brahman Diksha devotees know what else is there. But that lotus symbolizes Vrindavan, that the Dham, and Gopinath is the highest form. It's like the all in all of the all in all aspect of the Supreme Lord, where he is the Lord of the Gopis. There are 3 deities, principal deities, especially for us Gaudiya Vaishnavas: Sambandh, Abhidaya, and Prayojan. So Sambandh is Madan Mohan, Mama Manda Matayor. What is the pronouncement of Jayatam Sruto Pango Mama Manda Matir Gati Mat Sarva Sapadam Pocho Radha Madana Mohana. That first you establish a sambandha, a relationship with Gopinath, with Madan Mohan, with Krishna. That Jayatam Sruto Pango Mama Manda Matir Gati, the gati of my mind may get channelized, that may that energy get channelized at your lotus feet, O Lord. Mama Manda Matir Gati Mat Sarvasa Padam Bojo Radha Madana Mohana. May all of my endeavors, all of my activities belong and be in the line of rendering devotional service at your lotus feet. And you establish that sambandha, and then Abhidaya is you act upon it. Radha go Divya Vrinda Aranya Kalpadumada Srimad Ratnakara Singhasanastau Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prishtha Lipta Sevimana Smarani. And then you act upon it. You start chanting, you start meditating on how you have to serve the Supreme Lord. I'm not talking of how you have an eternal relationship. Now you've established your eternal relationship, and you meditate upon it, and you act upon it, and you render devotional services. This is where I think you actually get initiated. You get the adhikar. Just like no Tom, Dick, and Harry can just enter the altar directly. They have to practice. They have to through philosophy. They have to understand the philosophy and establish that relationship, and then they have to get the necessary qualifications. In ISKCON, for example, you have to do your IDC. You have to do your then you get Harinam, and then you have to do Bhakti Shastri. You get your Brahmin, and you get your Gopal mantra, and all those mantras which qualify you to actually act upon it. Act upon, as in you get the authorization, and you get the sanction to enter the altar and render devotional service to the Supreme Lord, to Shri Radha Gopinath. And then the third is Prayoj. Shriman Rasa Sarambhi Vamshivata Tatastita Karshan Venusvaner Gopi Gopinath Shriyastana. You realize that, oh, Gopinath, you were the supreme personality of Godhead. I knew the complete happiness I was looking for in various aspects of your creation. But that now I've found finally Tasmad Ekena Manasa, that with one pointed devotion, fixed determination, I've realized that Shriman Rasa Rasarambi, you are the one who starts the rasa dance. You the enjoyer of the rasa dance. Rasa Rasarambi, Vamshi Vata Tatasita. You standing you with in your classic threefold bending form at the banks of river Yamuna at Vamshivat at Tatastita, Karshan Venusvaner Gopi, Gopinath Shriyastana, and how you're attracting all everyone, all the entities, and specifically you're attracting all the gopis. Karshan Venusvaner Gopi, Gopinath Shriyastana, and I offer myself to you. So that is the Sambandh Abhidaya and Prayojan. You realize that Krishna is the ultimate source of happiness, and with one fixed determination, you worship the Supreme Lord. And all of this, we are able to understand when we take shelter of a spiritual master. Tadvidhi pranipaten pariprashnena sevaya uddikshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshina. 4.34 Bhagavad Gita. Just like how Dhruv Maharaj took shelter first, Padpradarshak Guru, um, Suniti, who gives him advice, who gives him the right advice. Um, you know, Sambandha. She tells Dhruva about his Sambandha, that you are to worship the Supreme Lord. And then we see, so he gets the knowledge. He starts looking towards the philosophy, Sambandha, and then he further advances, and then he goes to the forest and meets Narad Muni, where he's connecting him to Radha Govinda. He's telling him, oh, you have now, this is what you're supposed to do. You get the necessary qualification. You go to this Madhuban. You remember your guru, and you remember Krishna, and you meditate on him. You make a deity out of mud and whatever you find in the forest. You worship Supreme Lord with that paraphernalia. This is Abhidaya, and then he meets his Prayojan when after 5-6 months, when he's able to do his when he has perfected his sadhana, he meets his sadhya, and he gets the darshan of Prishni Garbha. And this is all this is what happens, and all of this is because one is sincere and one is ready to take the shelter of Guru. Oftentimes people say that it's just between me and God. Why do we need a guru? But it's like in telescope. They've got so many different lenses. It's got concave, convex, all types of lenses. So if you want to see something celestial, you need a telescope with so many lenses in between. Forget about so what you speak of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's beyond all his creations. Bhumirapi nalovayu khamno buddhir evacha ahankareti ame bhinna prakriti rastata. It's all Vishnu at the same time. It's his energy, but at the same time it's also bhinna prakriti rastata. That what to speak of something. What to speak of the Supreme Lord Krishna? Even to look at something material, we need lenses in between. So that is the importance of taking the shelter of a spiritual master, which Dhruv Maharaj has perfected and has shown as an example. Mahajanayeno Tatastupanta. So the great sage Maitreya continued, instruction with Dhruv Maharaj's mother Suniti was actually meant for fulfilling his desired objectives. Therefore, after deliberate consideration and with intelligence and fixed determination, he left his father's house. So I'd like to bring the attention back to this point where we were talking about worshipping demigods or worshipping Devi and Devtas. So we see that how Lord Shiva did this Nishkapat Kripa on Vrika, but worshipping the devas, what are we supposed to do with this? We understand that yes, tasma dekena manasa, and uh, bhakti is only meant for the Supreme Lord, anya bhilashita shanya, and how bhakti yado bhakti adokshaji, all of this is good, but then why do we have so many options there? Why do we have so many devi devtas, where we've got festivals, we've got navratri, we've got shivratri, we've got Ganesh Chaturthi? Why is all of this even there in our Panchang? Then there should only be Krishna. So we see even in Ramayana where Lord Ram is leaving for the forest. Um, there's a whole chapter where Kaushalya is putting is out of her love. She's put, she's bestowing benedictions and auspiciousness onto Ram, and she's mentioning all the demigods, like devas and devis I never even heard of, that didn't even know existed. And she's mentioning, may this devta protect you this way, may this devta protect you this way, may this devi protect you this way, may the forest deities not take offense of you trespassing their area, and all of that. She's putting all these benedictions onto Lord Ram, that may you have auspiciousness, and may all these devi devtas protect you. But the fact is that just by one moving of the brow of Lord Ram, all these Devi Devtas tremble in fear. All just by the fear of this of Lord Ram, on whom Kaushalya Mai is benedicting all these benedictions, he's the reason why the sun rises and sets on time. Why the moon um, gives the light, and why the entire creation is happening the way it is, functioning the way it is functioning. And over there they make a point that worshipping, and even Rup Goswami mentions, Sanatan Goswami mentions this in Hari Bhakti Vilas, that to worship other demigods, Devi Devtas, we should take shelter of them, recognizing them as Vaishnavas, and asking them to give us pure, unalloyed devotional service onto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Just like in front of a woman, if there are 10 men, she won't say, "Oh, all 10 men are my husband." That's not a symbol of a very chaste woman. But on the other hand, if she says, "Oh, this one is my husband, and all of these men are respectable men of the society," or in a better example would be how in a family there are so many men, and the newlywed lady has different relations with all the men, as in someone might be her father-in-law, brother-in-law, or etc. But she would not have that same relationship which she has with other members of the family as she would have with her own husband. So Ekala Ishvara Krishna Arisa Bhritya, that you recognize the great persona and characteristics of these Devi Devtas, and give them all respects and all devotion, all respects. But tasmat ekena manasa bhagwan satvatam prati, you worship and you recognize that my husband or my lord is Aradhyo Bhagwan Prachesha Tanayas Tattama Vrindavana. And we see this example of Atmadev, who pleased Lord Shiva, and so this Brahmana, his name was Atmadev, he pleased Lord Shiva and he asked for a benediction. And Lord Shiva came in front of him and he said, "Okay, ask for a benediction." And Atmadev said that, "I just love you, my lord. I do not perform bhakti, meditations and everything to get a specific boon out of you." So Lord Shiva said that this is the pattern. I'm amazed that someone actually worshipped me without a cause. So we're supposed to ask something. And he said that, "I did not really think of any boons, but if you really want to give, please give me something best in your list, and something which is very dear to you, something which is dear to you more than Parvati. Give me that." And Lord Shiva, he said, "Do I really have to?" And then Atmadev said, so if you want to give me the best. Otherwise, it's fine. And then Lord Shiva said, okay, the best thing I have, the best thing I worship in my heart is Radha Vallabha. And then he gives this deity of Radha Vallabh to Atmadev. And then according and then that deity is still worshipped in Vrindavan. So we see that how he's doing nishkapat kripa on devotees who to they go to these devas, and they get this nishkapat kripa of specifically of Lord Shiva, and they ultimately get Krishna bhakti. And you'll see whoever does bhakti even towards spiritual activities, even with focus and fame, focus and selflessness, they will ultimately get channelized. Their bhakti will ultimately get channelized, and they will worship Krishna. We see even Prachin Barahi, he was so attached to doing sacrifices, and he was so attached to doing all sorts of ritualistic karmakandi activities, where he was killing so many animals. But when Narad Muni instructed, because he was sincere, he was able to understand, and he was ultimately able to channelize his ritualistic tendencies in worshipping the Supreme Lord, and ultimately he was purified and delivered. And there are countless examples, and even people I've met, they were previously worshipping some other deva devi, and then because they were sincere, like they would actually wake up at 4 a.m. and do their whatever sadhana they wanted to do, and I was sleeping till 10. And after few months, and whenever I had this friend, and we used to speak, we used to have a conversation. And after 6 months, I saw that that person actually started taking interest in bhakti, and now they're chanting 16 rounds and aspiring for initiation in ISKCON. You see these examples that if you are sincere, if you're actually worshipping other devi devtas, even if it's selfless and if it's nishkam, then you will ultimately get channelized to worshipping the Supreme Lord. We see even gopis say Katyayini Mahamai Mahayogini Adishwari Nandagopa Satam Devi Pati Me Kurute Nama. Even gopis are worshipping Katyayini Devi, but to get Krishna as their husband, and that should be the mood we should follow. Even if we are worshipping other Devi Devtas, we should really recognize Ekla Ishvara Krishna Arya Sabhritya, and we should worship Krishna. We should worship these Devi Devtas, asking for their mercy, so that we get more focused, and we get that extra fuel we need to reach our ultimate destination, our ultimate prayojan. Shriman Rasa Saran Om Shiva Katasastita Darshan being Snare Gopi Gopinath Shastra. I think it's time we should stop here. Any questions, comments, or feedback? Surprised. Uh, so 2 points, like even yes, we see the pastime where Prigu decides to test, all the sages, they get into this conflict that who's the recipient of all our obligations and fire and all our austerities and all our ritualistic and spiritual activities, who gets that, who's the recipient of all of it. And they ask Prigu to go to these realms of different Devi Devtas, and Priku goes to Satyaloka, and then we know that story, that how Brahma gets offended, and then he goes to he goes to Lord Shiva, and then Lord Shiva runs behind him with a trident, and then he goes to Vaikunta, where uh, he kicks Vishnu's chest, but then Vishnu, despite rather than being angry at him, he welcomes him with sweet words, and he apologizes to Priku. And what is the position of Priku to do that? But this shows that the Supreme Lord is not. Um, he doesn't want our. He doesn't. He's not attached to getting our so-called respect. He's oblivious, and he's some he's tranquil in either situations. He's not easy. He's never agitated. And then Brigu realizes that yeah, yes, this is the Supreme Lord, and he's the one who's worthy of all respects and worship. And we see the whole narrative and the mood in which Srimad Bhagavatam is. It slowly builds on to, although it is Dharma Prochita Kaita Botri Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam, but we see that the mood of Raganuga Bhakti, which is the means to worship Radha Krishna, which is the way how I know, at least I've heard, Krishna is worshipped, is in the 10th canto, where the topic, where Etesham Chikla Pumsam Krishnastu Bhagwan. All after all these pastimes, Krishna has been established, and Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead has been established. Although it is established in the very first shloka as well, that which is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. To start with, it's Vasudev. Um, it's yeah, the son of Vasudev. It is there, but in like spotlight, you see that it's in the 10th canto. So I'd say all these pastimes of Prahlad and Dhruva, they are worshipping Krishna ultimately. Vishnu and Krishna are non-different, but the flavor of Raganuga is introduced in 10th canto. That's how I would answer your question. We can ask senior devotees what they think about this, but and then the mood of bhakti and the mood of service which gopis have towards Krishna is introduced. So perhaps that is why it's mostly focused on Prahlad or Dhruva or other great personalities worshipping Vishnu here specifically. One of the principles of Madhva Sampradaya is that when all these, even when names like Mahesha, which we usually associate that name with Lord Shiva, one of the principles of Madhva Sampradaya is that all these names are actually of the Supreme Lord, Vishnu or Krishna. So we Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we should understand that when Vishnu is being mentioned, for us it is actually Krishna. So how they relate all these Mahesha, if Mahesha is introduced, or if in the Vedas Indra is mentioned, Indra, they go by the qualities of Indra, and they associate that quality with Vishnu. So similarly, we Gaudiya Vaishnavas can do that. I think that is how we should read Srimad Bhagavatam, because for us Gaudiyas, just like how Prabhupada is mentioning Vrindavan, and he's mentioning this in his purport, that Vrindavan is the place, and how it's by the mercy of Srimati Radharani that one is able to do that. So that's your question. Thank you so much. I'd answer it in the same line that we see um, all these associates and all these great personalities. They, just like I've heard from um saints that Lord Shiva's original form is as Kopeshwar Mahadev in Goloka Vrindavan, and then it is actually Kopeshwar Mahadev who further manifests, and then who further manifests into Shambhu, Mahesha, Rudra, and all these different variations we see in Srimad Bhagavatam, and how we were discussing this during Shivratri, like different aspects of Shiva, Shiva and Sadashiv Lok, and then Mahakal Dham, and then Rudra, and how someone, if they're able to practice, I think for 10,000 years, if they get position of Brahma, and even greater than that is getting position of being an associate of Rudra. So all these great personalities have their original, just like how Brahma. I've heard from you that I asked you this question once, and you told me that how Haridas Thakur is the eternal position of Brahma, and then Haridas Thakur further manifests in the material world as Vairaja Brahma, or whatever personality this is. Um, so I'd say that originally all these great personalities have their spiritual identity where they're worshipping Radha Gopinath. But again, Raga Anuga Bhakti is very confidential, and even in the scriptures it is introduced very much later, specifically by our Gaudiya Vaishnava saints, like Rupa Goswami, who goes even in the depth of uh, the pastimes of Srimad Bhagavatam, which are not there in Srimad Bhagavatam, because Srimad Bhagavatam is a very concised form, where we don't even hear about personalities like Nandi Mukhi or Madhumangal or Purnamasi in Srimad Bhagavatam, but it doesn't mean that they don't exist. It is just that Srimad Bhagavatam's narrative is very concise, whereas books by our acharyas, they're much more elaborately mentioning the flavor of Raganuga Bhakti, and of um, even higher topics like Gopi Bhav, or Madanakya Mahabhav, and all these bhavas, which are not really openly mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'd say that all these devas, they worship Krishna in that position, in that form, but it's um, much more less revealed, I'd say, and him worshipping Sankarsana is something mentioned in Bhagavatam, is much more publicly, or much more openly out there, and for various practical reasons also. I think that's how it should be, because we see so many Mayavadis giving classes on Srimad Bhagavatam, and having kathas on Srimad Bhagavatam, and we don't want them to talk about Radha Krishna and Raganuga Bhakti, and accepting, because they're on that platform where they don't even accept Krishna or Vishnu having a form. Forget about having the most beautiful and the most intimate form of Srimati Radharani and Sri Gopinath standing together. So we don't want them to, have easy access to these topics. So it is better that this is how it is mentioned. But if we go according to our Gaudiya Vaishnava line, and we should accept what our acharyas say, that how Lord Shiva is as Kopeshwar Mahadev, he's serving as Vrindavan Manch, or he's serving as the gatekeeper, or he's doing his services. Even Balram having form as Ananga Manjari, and serving in the groves of Vrindavan in the mood of conjugal love towards the eternal couple. And this is much more less revealed. It's not mentioned in Bhagavatam, but then we find Ananga Manjari in our Gaudiya literatures, and we accept that. Is that a right answer, bro? That's what my knowledge is. You can ask Kanshram, bro. Actually, you know the answer. You're asking. This is your humility that you're asking me this question. Any more questions? Feedback? It is benefiting me the most. Okay, it is time. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ved Bhakta